Okay. I had like a scheduled live thing, but I was not really done as far as getting ready. Okay, so I have to have my guest come on to figure out how to do the settings, comments, okay. Guest. I wonder what kind of settings they have on that. Here we go. Switch. Okay, I have to get my. We're gonna call her Elizabeth. Okay, where's she at now? I have somebody coming on. Give me a minute to get her on here. But she lives close to, like she's been in Moscow before. I'm doing one person that's coming on as soon as I can figure out how to, like, I was on her live for briefly, but uh-oh. Whoop. So, there she is. Okay, so I have to invite her on. I'm gonna still touch up my makeup. I wasn't While you introduce yourself.
Oh, hold on. I'm trying to get my picture.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Hello.
Hi. I was still
I'm I'm so grateful for you, honestly. Like, you have no idea. I love your page. I love your content. I love you. Like, you're awesome.
so
Thank you
sh
for having me.
thank you. Elizabeth reached out to me and she lives like really close to Moscow and has even been in I don't know, did you want to elaborate?
Yeah, so I'm technically considered a local because between my house and Moscow is just farms and some crops. So literally I'm the next town over, right? And our whole area is known as the Quad Cities. So you have Moscow, Idaho, and then Pullman, Washington. And then down a hill, there's what's known as the LC Valley, Lewiston, Idaho, and Clarkston, Washington. Past Clarkston is another small town called Asotin. Thank you for liking my sweater. So basically, we're all one big region. We're separated by counties and we're on the border. What's important about that is that this person, whoever they are, could have easily moved on to one of the four or one of the other three of the four cities. It's possible that they're from the Lewis Clark Valley and they just travel to Moscow because a lot of us commute back and forth. Um, there's a lot of people, such as myself. I used to work up there, and that's how I met Maddie and Kaylee. Was I was literally up in Moscow every day for close to a year, running a clinic for addicts, and I would stop in Mad Greek literally every day because I loved their food. And every time I was there, I saw Kaylee and Maddie, and or one of the either one or both of them. Sometimes only one of them, sometimes both. You know how it goes. People have days off, but they were always very bubbly, very personable. Makes you feel like you're their best friend. Um, I mean, I just can't say enough about them, and they were just beautiful souls. And for them to be so nice to me when I'm like 40 something, my daughter's their age, and we kind of talked about that was kind of the icebreaker, was me talking about my daughter being their age and also a college student. I'm also alumni. Um, I performed at the U of I. Like I said, I would commute there every day for close to a year. My grandson lived in on West Taylor Avenue, which is literally bordering this area. And then I have another friend that wishes to remain anonymous for her own safety that lives within walking distance of the house. So I'm in Moscow quite a bit. And I have a lot of ties to the community. And I was an intern for a local prosecutor, not the one in Latah County, but one of the neighboring counties. Um, I was there for about a year and a half.
I guess what she was explaining to me, which was intriguing. Like, okay, so like when I first heard that 4 people were stabbed in their sleep, like I immediately was like, oh my gosh, my reaction. And I'm in Texas. Every people are following this all over the world. Like I get people from Australia following, UK, or I'm on YouTube looking at stuff, and everybody's just so like stunned because it's not 4 people in that way is not common. Like we don't see that every day. So honestly, I immediately thought, oh my gosh, this could potentially be a serial killer or somebody who's just now, getting started, finally decided to do that. The police, and
That's very possible.
you had insight on that because that they were kind of trying to keep you guys feeling, I guess, what is the consensus in the city? I'll ask you, like in the area, are people freaked out about this person?
Oh, 100%. Um, it's, I want to say the word like ghost town, but that sounds too ominous and eerie for basically what happened. But when you're in Moscow, ever since the 13th of November, people don't make eye contact, which is very unusual because everyone's friendly. Like the Moscow area and Pullman and everything, we're all just like really accepting of other people and really nice, and you'll chat with people, make connections. Like I said, we're a tight-knit community, and right now Moscow is very subdued. It's like there's not very many people walking about, whereas before it was a very busy type of downtown, and it's absolutely gorgeous, you guys. It literally looks like a scene out of a movie, or like the Norman Rockwell paintings. Like it's such an ideal town. So this has really scared our entire region and really devastated us. Yes, I said Pullman because it's the next town over, and that's where WSU, Washington State University, is located. And they had a SWAT team recently there at WSU, and they ended up killing the person that was in the standoff. Um, so that just happened like just a couple of days ago. So our whole area is on edge between that and the murders. Like this doesn't happen around here.
Well, yeah, and if you follow her, she's got some good videos of like the area, the scenery, kind of like you described that it was off of this major highway and that you can almost see that house. Maybe you can explain more of that.
Yeah. So when you go to Moscow, you're going to drive past sorority row and frat row, right? That's crazy Floridian.
Woman, his last name.
Xana and Maddie. Well, I've met Kaylee before. I don't recognize Xana, but I know I've met Maddie, and I'm pretty sure I've met Kaylee. Maybe she was just there visiting. I don't know. But I have very vivid memories of talking to her. Not very often, like I said, but had some interactions with them. I If I would have known that this was gonna be a thing, I would have like had them follow my Insta, or I would have taken pictures, because a lot of people are like coming at me saying that they don't think that this happened, but like it did. Like, I have receipts. I have actual pictures of the food that I would eat. And she's right. I have a lot of aerial footage that isn't being shown on the news. And the highway is literally right there. And so this person could have literally, I think what they did was they went out the back door, the sliding glass door, right? And I believe that they scaled the hill behind the house, which is quite a feat. And you can only do it if you're in shape, because I couldn't even do it. But I'm not in shape and I'm in my 40s. But whoever this was could have most definitely gone that direction, and that white Hyundai could have been the getaway vehicle, and it could have been parked on this road that literally connects to the highway. And I believe that that is a very credible theory to have. And also, the police did cordon off that area, and they did search it. And then after they did their whatever, they opened that parking lot back up to the public. And when you see the house on King Road, you're going to see an apartment complex directly to the left. There's a parking lot, and then beyond that parking lot there's a ravine and a hill, and then beyond that hill is the highway. So it's very close.
Well, my thing was I've seen um, your footage of you being up to the crime tape in the
Yes.
woods, in the little backwoods. She's literally there, like, and has been there. And I would do the same. If I mean, I think a lot of people have. But what I thought was interesting, I heard an interview of a guy he interviewed somebody that's been on death row for 40 years, who like isn't really a bad guy. I mean, I guess he was a kid. He was 18, got into a fight, killed the guy. Then they put him on death row. So he seems like a nice guy, but he got interviewed by this guy on YouTube because he's like kind of studied serial killers. He's hung out with a lot of them in that prison in California. So they let him review the case. This was recently. And very interesting. The guy said that whoever did this was probably in those woods back there, like looking at the house, and probably had that knife, and that they would look out for like little knife cuts in the trees, and like maybe little rocks, like if they were getting, like you fiddle with stuff if you're stalking somebody or looking, they're staking out a house for a long time. And that
Yeah.
investigators have said they did not extend the crime tape out far enough into the woods. So
So
I didn't know what
the
your thought was on that.
yeah. So okay. The back patio is, so it's just a hill. It's not a wooded area. The where I was standing was just an incline, to where if you go down that, it's not that deep, it's not that steep, but if you go down that slight hill and then it's like an embankment, then you're on their property. And so the tape went up to that border. However, they did cordon off the rest of that area, the parking lot where all the media was at. And again, I'm not a reporter. Investigative freelance journalist. That's important to note. I got permission to go there because basically the general public, I shouldn't say me, the general public was able to go in this parking lot. I met the neighbor that's on the news, the one that was speaking out, and I know the manager of that apartment complex that's literally to the left. It's a hill, a road that goes up, and then past the parking lot is a wall of concrete blocks, and then above that is the wooded area. And if you look at the aerial shots, it looks like the wooded area is like right behind the house, but there's actually quite a distance. But there is a trail to the right that literally goes from the house up to the road. And when
Or,
you see the aerial like coverage of the house, this person had to have come from the behind, because if you go in the front, you're visible to like everybody. You're visible in, like, there's so many apartments, so many
well, yeah,
houses.
but that picture you have too, where a lot of people didn't understand the house is like split. Like the front of the house is completely
Yes,
split level, and then the back of the house, it's
that's
almost
a new addition.
so whoever came in, that's why a lot of people were confused because they didn't understand. They came in from like, I guess Elizabeth saying they're off of a major highway. Anyone can come right in there, go park on this little hill, and then walk down through this trail through the wood. It was like the perfect storm, I think, of an area that one could target because right in the back of the house faces that little like woodsy area, and then they didn't have any much lighting or anything, and then sliding glass door,
Yeah, it is dark back there.
very dark. I saw that on that camera from the, remember this, I posted a body cam where they were being called for noise control, and they were having a party. It's sad because it was literally 2.5 months right before the incident, and
Mm-hmm.
it's sad because you can hear Maddie talking to the police officer, and but I noticed how dark it was, and also how many kids were running around, and how nobody knew kind of who's going inside. They're all partying together. So my thought was that, I guess maybe even I felt like the person who did this was more of an acquaintance, like he'd seen the girls before, but the girls wouldn't really recognize him per se. Or I was thinking it
You
could have,
mean acknowledge him? Like they didn't acknowledge him and that set him off? That's
well,
possible.
I was thinking maybe, I mean, there's a lot of people that like to do this kind of, not a lot, but I mean, it seems like it. I don't know. You hear about crimes, right? Some people, this is just their thing, right? I don't have a desire to do harm people, but there are people that is their motive. It's just, but I was just thinking, like you're saying, these surrounding towns. I mean, I was thinking maybe even the person doesn't live in Moscow, or maybe a year ago lived in Moscow and was maybe a Uber Eats driver during COVID and saw, like, came to the town from that, and then saw like, oh, look at these girls, and like look at like, does that make sense to you at all? Or
Yeah, and another thing I want to mention is the point of entry. So the police have theorized the point of entry could have been the sliding glass door. However, there is coverage from a major news network of the police, and they have evidence tape on the window that I believe is next to the sliding glass door, kind of like a low to the ground kind of window, and it's absolutely possible that this person went through the window. Now, here's another weird thing. Someone reported that the front door, right, that faces the other side of the street was wide open. This
yeah,
could change the entire case, because that could change the point of entry and who is being targeted. Because if you go through the front door, you have to pass the surviving roommates' rooms in order to get to the second and third floor. So it doesn't kind of make, I don't know. And I don't know how accurate that information is, because I don't know if the police have addressed that particular thing. But it is kind of weird that they were at the window taking prints and there's actual evidence tape, like little red arrows, that could possibly
in,
point to blood or fingerprints.
in the front of the house or the back of the house?
The back of the house. Like legit where
Yeah,
the
but
sliding glass door is. If you look to the right, there's a window that that person could have absolutely gone into or left from. but the front door was supposedly left open and someone saw it open, and that could change the perspective of the case. But don't quote me. That's
I
just,
I
I'm
heard
not sure if that was.
reported it like 8:30 in the morning, it being wide open. And then there was also a report of like, I don't know. Do you know who like Enon Harsh is?
Yeah, he's a kook.
Chef Dizzy. I don't think he did it, but
Yeah, I don't think he did it either. And
nonetheless,
if it turns out he did, then that's just gonna be bizarre because he's a very bizarre guy.
yeah, you just a part to me. He just sounds like a party. Somebody who parties a lot and kind of. I don't know. That was the vibe I got, and he was liking the attention, and people were immediately were just like, "Oh, it's got to be him." But it's like
They're making Sorry, I'm reading your comment. Someone says they're making fun of the murders on Facebook. That's horrible.
he's like not. If you yeah, you can look on his. I think we're friends on TikTok, honestly, because I've posted videos about him, shadow not making him look too good. So the fact that he friend requested me, I was like, I felt bad. I'm like, you and Joe Vido commented on my TikTok about him. Remember him?
Joe Divot?
Yeah. He's like, I wish you wouldn't post these things without getting to know, because I said I didn't like his vibe because he came off real smug talking about one of the girls. I saw that he got banned. Yeah, now he's going back to Chef Dizzy. Chef Dizzy was banned, but he got back. He's back up there. Elizabeth's like head spinning now. There's too much going.
It's just, you see this stuff on TV. You see that people insert themselves or want attention or falsely confess. I mean, I watch a lot of true crime. Never in my life did I think that this was going to be happening in my backyard and that somebody like Einan would actually insert themselves and be this arrogant and this aloof. Like, it's surreal. Like, it's almost, I have, I don't know how to word it, but like, it's almost like the people around here are kind of dissociating from the, like, dissociating and not really absorbing all of the information because there's a lot. I mean, you have Reddit, you have TikTok, you have Facebook, you have Twitter. I mean, there's so many different platforms that are talking about this case, and millions of people all around the world, are trying to show their support. And I get it. There's a lot of theories, and some of those theories actually make sense, but yeah, like, I
Basically,
just can't believe it.
like what
Like, it's disgusting.
Enon was saying he heard a scream potentially. So when he got
Yep, that was false.
no, the video's false, but his report of hearing it, somebody made a video
Hmm.
of the scream. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I know that something was
Well,
faked, but I'm not sure if it was the video or if it was the scream. What?
Enon had a Facebook post where he said, "Well, this is crazy that there was no screams or whatever." But then later, there's a news report of him then later changing, saying he might have heard a scream. And then he's talking about
Yeah,
a
I saw that.
SUV with out of state plates. Okay, yeah. And then in the interview that I posted, he says, "How many likes did it get?" But he's talking about the fake video, not the one
I'm more we
another YouTuber made a video of like of a fake scream. But there's too many, it's so complicated, there's so many details. And then there's another potential scream that Inside Edition had that I have a video of that as well. That I you actually do hear it, but when they enhance it, it sounds like it could almost be a squeaky tire, and it could honestly have nothing to do with the case at all. But it was during the body
Yeah.
footage of those kids that were like got the drunk underage drinking just so happened, right?
So does Iman live in the vicinity? Because
Mm-hmm.
I've been up there a million times and I've never seen him. Do you guys know if he lives next to the house?
Yeah, he lives in the
'Cause
apartment, one of the apartments, supposedly.
that's weird because
He even
all the
talked
people
about having giving like them some wine, the girls, to drink. And he said that he has thought about crashing their parties before.
sorry, I don't have a filter, so apologies. My face says more than my mouth. That is crazy, honestly.
But he didn't make the fake scream video.
No, I get that. I'm just saying,
That's why he's
like,
not responding to the comment though, because
it's so many, there's so many layers. Like, there's so many different angles of this case. There's so many things that are up in the air, and, um, girl, you're doing
I
what
don't know
you
if that's
said.
direct to me or to you.
I don't know either. What are you guys talking about? I'm just speaking as a person that
Right. Yeah, no,
knew of the people and knows the landscape. I'm just trying to lend a
I don't know
little bit more
or
realistic uh discussion. Hey Lise. Hey sis. That's my she's actually my sister. Hey Beth, thank you. I have to thank her for this because her platform is great and a lot of people should go follow her because there's a lot of good videos that she's posted. Um and then my backup
that's
account,
what I'm gonna address when people said that he was making fun of the murders because he was accused. He's acting like um I we don't think he really most of us don't think he did it, but he's just messed up and likes the attention and he doesn't care that he's being accused, but it's a little insensitive because he's making if you go to his TikTok, you'll see him driving and the rap music, the lyrics.
he's unwell.
Yeah. If you listen to the lyric, it's like they thought I did it, but I didn't. Like it just it's a I don't know. I'll have to send them to you. Ian Harsh is not the yeah, I don't exactly. We don't think he
Neither one of us have led credibility to this person.
he's a true
The
crime.
Killer is a true crime
Oh,
podcast.
I immediately thought psychopath, like serial killer type. I don't know who Trey Patterson is. Do you?
No,
Uh,
I mean, I
he,
know faces, not
here's
good.
he knows more about true crime news about Ted Bundy and people who interviewed him. He knows more about. Oh, he's a true crime person that you think is suspicious. When I've been listening,
How does he know more than Ted? What?
he knows more about his setting up everybody. Not only did he do it, what he went to do. I don't even know what you're talking about.
I. You know what I don't get? In one of my lives, I had a guy saying something like sexier than Ted Bundy or a big fan of Ted Bundy. And I don't get that. Like, it's just repugnant for people to like associate themselves with a serial killer and then brag about it.
Tons of women swooning over him. I don't know if you remember him. There was like
Yeah,
big.
well, I remember
Yeah,
watching a lot.
I think he got married. Some of these, it's weird.
Yeah, Ted Bundy was Oh, I get it. Okay, right. I know you're not associating yourself. I'm just saying that some people are.
Well, he's username Bundy L, but you're not associating yourself with Bundy at all.
Well, Al Bundy was from Married with Children,
Oh, you're right.
like the 90s.
You're right. I I remember now.
Gen X. I remember watching it.
I'm a journalist. I work for a radio station. I can't go in here under my real.
You're fine, Bundy Al. Like we get it. I recognize your name from Married with Children, not Ted Bundy, but the other guy, Al Bundy from American or from yeah, Christina Applegate, uh, the redheaded lady. I freaking love that show.
No, I
So
think
I think
you saying that you're not using your real name. He doesn't know the backstory though.
I'm a journalist too, but not on the radio or on TV. I'm an investigative journalist. And I will be writing about this in my latest book that I'm writing, and I will be doing a podcast of all the unsolved murders. And speaking of that,
I saw.
um,
Yeah, and I was gonna.
I will show. Sorry, I had to lean back. I'm such. My chair got broke. Okay, so the thing I'm talking about is this, and it has a lot of unsolved cases. Our region has a very dark history and a lot of mysterious cold cases. For some reason, our region just attracts this kind of thing, and Moscow has a history as well. Um, a lot of connections between killings in Moscow and the other three. Um, yeah, so we have a dark history around here. And I think I'm going to name the book Unsolved Mysteries of the Valley or something, or Valley's Unsolved Mysteries, or the Quad City Mystery, or something like that, because it's really insane. What do you think?
Yeah. Um. Yeah, sounds good. On.
So, if anyone has any ideas about that, reach out to her or me. I'd love your guys' input on what you guys want to hear and stuff like that.
Anyway, like, sorry, I was distracted with the door. I tell. I'm like, I'm not.
Oh, I like your shirt. Home Alone.
Yeah, it says Merry Christmas. Yeah, filthy.
Yeah, filthy animals.
Yeah. So I guess for me personally,
Thanks, Bren.
I have always been intrigued by like true crime. Um, ever since like let's go back to July of 1991, and I'm in my living room, and my mom just says something like, "Oh, that's where the bodies were in the acid." And I was like, "Huh?" Like I'm 7 years old, right? And so she's talking about I saw it on the news, the actual TV, the people carrying the blue vats out of the Milwaukee apartment, and my eyes grew, and I just was
Yeah,
like,
Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer.
yeah, that was the moment where I was just like, that intrigue hit, and then my like later I wanted to be like,
If
a forensic pathology to have something to do with forensics. I didn't really want to do that because I didn't really want to be a coroner, but I would like to be like an interrogator, maybe investigative journalist, report. I'd like to interview these people one day, but I basically went and got my degree in psychology, and
same.
then later would like to go back and maybe get a PhD or master's in criminology or, you know. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is, so I've watched all of these particular shows on,
Have you
investigative
watched the
forensic files. Like I just, and I watch all of them, right? Dateline, and I'm just a lot of people are into this stuff, but I
Yeah,
only
have you
like,
seen the Netflix special?
which one?
The Netflix special called Dahmer? It is so good.
The documentary I watched, yes.
Yeah, it's called Dahmer, and
The
it's
series bothered me because after I watched the documentary, they were like making mistakes in it, and I was like, why are they doing that? I was catching like the stuff that was off. Like I'm like, no, that guy did not know that because he ends up the 14-year-old boy that runs away and the police
yeah.
back. That's the reason why Jeffrey Dahmer was on the SA list. But the series acts like he knows that fact. He didn't even know that. She's not talking about the documentary. It has actors in it. I like the documentary. You're talking about the documentary too, right?
I don't know if it's a documentary per se. It's just a mini series
Okay.
that explores the backstory to Dahmer, and it gives a perspective that's actually really good. I highly recommend it. Can we share our main theories? Yeah. There is an argument that this could be a serial. I mean, I don't know
I'll
if
get
I particularly.
I'll give my theory.
Okay, so my theory is that this was a jealousy killing, that this was overkill, that the person was very sloppy, and that's because of the rage. There was no sexual component, but as she's pointed out, they could have used the knife as a substitute for the sex act because there are killers out there that just need the stab to get their gratification. So that is a possibility. I think it's more likely though that the person knew Maddie and Kaylee and possibly even Ethan and Xana. Do I think that this person is from the frat? No. Do I think that it's been someone that they've already kind of put out there in the media, like Jack and the Jack D? That's what I'm talking about. I don't necessarily think that he did it either, but I definitely think that this had to have been personal based on the brutality of the killings.
Well, also your backstory is she was at the press conference and lives local and is hearing the locals talk. So, but what you're saying sounds to me a lot like what we initially heard the police come out and say right off the
It's
bat.
exactly what they said.
So your opinion didn't waver from.
Correct.
Now, do you have a reason as to why?
So I worked as an intern for a local prosecuting attorney, along with my degrees in psychology and criminal justice, and being an investigative journalist and knowing Kaylee and Maddie. I kind of felt like I had a perspective that might be wanting other people to know. Like, I did this originally not to be TikTok famous. I just wanted to do justice by the victims and to spread awareness as a local. And I want people to know that like this is coming from the heart. It's coming from a genuine place, and I just want people to know like how we're feeling around here, what people are saying around here, and like what people don't see on TV, which is basically at the press conferences, which is open to the general public, I must add. Um, you hear chatter, you hear people discussing the
Right,
case,
right.
and what I have heard differs from what's been put on TV.
That's why I
Ba-
was trying to get at.
yes. And that is fact. Like, yeah, TV is fake. I did not realize that the news was a lie
Right.
until I was literally sitting in the press conference as a general public person. But after I watched I was literally live streaming the press conference. And then later I saw interviews and like cut out pieces, and like the news outlets were spinning their own take on it. And
Mm.
I was like, that's not what happened. That's not what they said. Like, this
Right.
doesn't make any sense. So I wanted to lend my credibility, basically.
Yeah. So that's kind of like I'm looking for my tripod though.
What was different, Rick Sticks? Well, you know, um, so not necessarily from the police, okay? Because they have to be tight-lipped. They're actually under a gag order. I don't know if anyone knows that, but the judge and the prosecuting attorney for Latah County has put them under a gag order, which means that they're literally not allowed to talk about any aspect of the case in any um connection at all to anyone. That's what a gag order means. Now, while I was at the press conference, I got to basically rub shoulders with some of the major news networks and other investigative journalists that were there, and that we would strike up a conversation and we would share information, things that weren't necessarily released to the public, but were still that they were confirmed by police, right? Um, I lost my train of thought again.
You said they were confirmed by police, but you guys were talking about stuff separate
Yeah,
off the record.
yeah. Off the record, we were sharing information from our own investigative journalist, whatever you want to call that, right? So I did get to speak with people at CNN, NBC, ABC, Fox News, the New York Post. I even talked to someone from Scotland, and I like Bryan. Yes, very much.
Brian Enton, yeah, everyone's
Yeah, he's doing a really good job at covering this and not feeding into speculation, but he's literally just reporting the facts. Um, yes, that Rick Sticks, yes. There are a lot of people that are talking amongst themselves in the community regarding possible suspects that aren't being discussed on TV because, again, most of us around this region, especially people that live directly in Moscow, are so scared to death that they're not willing to put themselves out there on these media outlets and things so that they don't get targeted, because so far anyone who has spoke out has been doxxed, targeted,
yeah.
bullied, and harassed, including myself. And the importance of the Elantra is that it could have been the getaway vehicle, and it could have been parked along the road that goes directly to the highway and past the A&W um gas station, which is also significant because the police have now pulled the security footage from that A&W, and that's probably why they know about the Hyundai Elantra, because it's literally on the way out of town.
Plus, I
No
think that
bullshit.
other cameras may have, and other witnesses may have came forward and said that they had seen a white car. You know what I mean? I'm sure they got that piece of information before they even got that security camera footage. They were already like inquiring about it. Does that make sense?
Hmm. So one of the, without naming people, um, there is a lot of people who think that this was possibly the stalker, possibly the guy that didn't show up for work. No one really thinks that it was Kaylee's ex. Not
I,
around here.
and there's so many people that are just so hell bent. Okay, here's what I wanted to say. Even though Elizabeth has more experience, obviously, like she's done some journalism and um lives okay in the city. And yeah, I'll let you say yours after I say my thing real quick. um and she used to eat at the Mad Greek. And which one was it? Maddie was your waitress?
Yeah, I could have I know that I've interacted with Kaylee. Like I said, I'm good with
The
faces, not
blonde.
necessarily names, but I know that I have interacted with her. Whether or not she was at the restaurant to visit Manny or what, but there's a lot of restaurants that I frequent in Moscow and places like Ulta, the mall, Starbucks, A&W, like Pizza Hut. Like there's a whole bunch of businesses that I go to and I know that I've interacted with Kaylee. But I know that without a doubt, Maddie was at Mad Greek. Absolutely, because I love their gyros and I love their Greek fries. And as far as I know, there's only like one or two Greek restaurants in the whole area, and I like that one the best. So then I'm biased because that's pretty much the only one I've eaten at. But every time I went in there, the people that worked there were so bubbly, so sweet, and it just made you feel warm and comfy. You know, it's kind of the small town feel. And most people around here feel safe. Most people around here don't even think about locking their doors because it's such a safe community, or at least it was. And this has absolutely wrecked our region.
Yeah, well, when I first heard it, it hit me like a ton of bricks, simply because I'm thinking, wow, this is a big deal. I'm in my head, I'm like, this is like a serial killer, or like you're saying, the weird dude that walks around the city with the knife that everyone kind of wonders about. There's those people in every community. There's
Yeah,
people that
absolutely.
have the desire to do these things because of, I think it's a combination of like nature and nurture. But that's what I was always intrigued by, the mind, and the psychology of a
Absolutely.
psychopath, which is, a sociopath, which is antisocial personality disorder coupled with child misconduct at age 15. So that's how you get a sociopath. They start being juvenile delinquents, when they're younger, getting in trouble, lack the empathy, lie. They just don't feel any remorse. And then, anyway, without going
Yeah,
down the
that's called a cluster. That's a cluster PD.
cluster
Um
disorder, well,
So I have, like I said, the degree in psychology, but when I was in the military, I was an independent duty corpsman, but I also specialized in psychiatric medicine. So we call that um oh my God, I'm so sorry that I'm losing my train of thought. I swear I have ADHD. But a cluster personnel, there's cluster A and cluster B,
yeah, cluster
and those two have very
disorder, antisocial personality disorder.
that's where you get the psychopathic.
Right. We're usually with the I don't know. There can be sociopaths that never go on to commit murder, though. That's where they go into the psychopath, they call them, because those people have that bizarre desire. So I was always intrigued by the mind of, like, because I couldn't conceive of doing such a thing. So for some reason, I was so enthralled by people that would do the most insane, heinous things. I don't know why. I guess they call it morbid curiosity. I'm not the only one. So I'm just not. We all have that. But so immediately that's what I thought, because of four people being taken out, right? And the guy, I've talked to her about this before, he slips in, knocks out the 4 people quickly, probably knew the spots to hit where it would happen, where they maybe wouldn't be able to be vocal if you hit it long or did they're not going to be screaming, they're passed out asleep too, and then they get hit, and then by the time they wake up, like, it's over for them. The person next to them wakes up, and then they get taken out real quick. And so I thought the guy wore gloves. There's a blocker on the knife. That's how they say it's a fixed blade, because of the hilt pattern, bruising pattern, where the knife hits, and that back end of the knife, that blocker on the knife, leaves a bruise. But we don't have the report of the autopsies, or so I didn't know if you had any insight. Now, she says it's an overkill. Personally, I'm in my head, I'm thinking this is just some psychopath that saw these girls, saw the way the house was set up, saw that was a perfect area to target. And then I heard other people say, if you go look in those woods and find a area where somebody was hanging out, lurking, watching the house, it just, to me, immediately, I did not buy this young little college kid or jealous girlfriend goes in
Yeah.
and slaughters 4 people. I felt like collateral damage is not likely. If you're mad at somebody, you're going to maybe attack that person, but you're not going to be like, oh, I'm going to take out these other people too. I mean, it's a certain type of person to go in and take out 4
Yeah.
people and then disappear unnoticed. And so, yeah, they addressing the getaway car. Yeah, she's saying when you said getaway car, did you mean that there was maybe more than one person?
Okay, so I want to back up a minute, because someone asked me what the locals think. I can't tell you what they think, but I can tell you what they don't think. Okay? The people that I know and the general consensus around here is that it wasn't any of the roommates, that it was definitely not Joe from the food truck, that it had nothing to do with some beef with the frat. But this is all because or it's Jack decor. Most of the people around here don't believe that.
Right.
It's split 50-50 between people who think it's a serial
Right.
and people that think it was targeted. And about the targeting, hey, we're amazing. I love you. So there is some credence to what you're saying. However, we have to also remember where the victims were found, and that the collateral damage could have just been because those people just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and the killer had a mission, right? And the reason I say there's overkill is because Kaylee's wounds alone were so horrific that this person basically gutted her from here down, and it was such a brutal attack that it liquefied her organs. That alone is overkill. That means that it was personal. That means that person wanted to punish Kaylee Gonzalez. Okay. Now, the question remains what order they were unalived. Okay. There is 2 working theories. One of the working theories is that Kaylee was the target and that everyone else was collateral damage. And the reason that they think that is because Maddie was in the same room as Kaylee. And then Ethan and Xana were on the second floor. Okay. Now, here's the thing about that. In order to get to the third floor, you've got to go through the second floor, which means that it could have been possible that the person unalived Ethan and Xana in order to get to the third floor to do what they wanted to do, and that was to get Kaylee and Maddie. But there's also the 2 facts that Ethan doesn't live at this house and Kaylee had already moved out. So whoever this person is, maybe they didn't know that Kaylee and Ethan and Xana were home.
Hangover. Yeah.
Yeah, so this could have also been still a targeted attack against maybe Maddie or
For
something.
women in general.
Yeah, and then the police said something very odd. They said that they can no longer guarantee that it was a targeted attack on a person or if it was the residence that was being targeted. So
So that,
that kind of confuses people because they're almost going back on their original theory that this was a targeted attack and like the victims were targeted and not the house. So now that they're saying the house could have been targeted, that puts a whole different spin on the motive of why this person did what they did. But I don't think the roommates had anything to do with it, and I don't think it's a cover up. Let's talk about the 911 call. There were multiple people on that call. We don't know what was said, and it's possible that they were hysterical at some point, but they don't want to release the 911 call because there's probably sensitive information on that call that could allude to who the killer is, and they don't want people to know that because they're building their case. So if that makes any sense.
well, there's also that whole, in my opinion, as an outsider, thinking, oh gosh, this has to be some, serial killer, psychopath, whatever. Well, then they came out right away saying this is targeted, kind of like, don't worry, guys. And everyone else was like, oh, yeah, there's a couple of survivors left in the house. And sure, it was just targeted, and they didn't feel as bad. But then it's like, I think they thought it was going to be easy to solve. Like, once they looked at phone records, this person had an alter. They thought it was just going to be so. And it's like every single dead end they keep hitting to the point where now they do not have a suspect. They haven't released any kind of profile. So do you have any knowledge on that, on if they have a suspect, if they have a profile? Like,
So I did ask that question at the press conference. Um, I asked about the BAU specifically and if they had a working profile so that we would know what to look for in the community because this person could be displaying all kinds of concern behavior like paranoia, um, shifting about unnaturally, nervous behavior, anger problems. There's all kinds of things that can affect one's behavior once they've committed a crime of this nature. So I asked that question specifically, but unfortunately, the police glossed over it and didn't really answer that. And then I asked if it's possible that this was a female. And the reason I ask that is because there are cases out there like Jodi Arias, Susan Wright, and some other people where women have actually brutally stabbed people. But now that they've commented on Kaylee's injuries and the graphicness of it, it's probably not likely that a female did this because it takes a lot of strength to do what they did with from
well,
navel to, you know, and to
yeah.
liquefy the.
And so, how did you hear about Kaylee's body other than, because I know the dad made the comment? Are you going off of Steve's comments or inside
Yes,
information?
yes, but also the coroner herself mentioned that her wounds were the worst.
Really?
Um yeah, the coroner herself said
Like
that.
right away?
Yes, in one of her interviews. I believe it's on YouTube, but that's a working theory.
Yeah, they were asking if the coroner mentioned the organs. I just remember I heard,
Yes, the coroner mentioned that the liver and
yeah, I
I
heard.
believe the spleen were liquefied, which takes a lot. I was in like I said, I was an independent duty corpsman in the military, and to split someone from naval to like up and to liquefy organs, that takes a lot of strength, a lot of anger, a lot of rage, and that's what I meant by overkill. But I don't know for certain because that has not been released by the police themselves. It's just stuff that has been maybe edited or something that's on YouTube where she speaks about it. And then there was an article about it. And then, yes, Kaylee's
Well,
parents
yeah,
spoke
Steve
of it.
some comments, and now he's hired a private investigator and was thinking. I also heard the guy that's a lead in the case in the city of Moscow has only been a cop for like 4 years. Do you think there's been a lot of like scrutiny against the police department? So
Yeah, there's been a lot of scrutiny. And one thing I want to say about that, just because we're a small region, it doesn't mean that our police are incompetent. I happen to know someone who's known Roger Lanier for close to 20 some years, and they're very familiar with his work, and James Fry as well. They're very reputable, very smart. And you guys, you gotta remember part of their job is to mislead the public, and the not in the way you think, but in the sense that they don't release everything they know because they're trying to protect the integrity of the scene or of the case. I read scene. So there's gonna be some things that they say that maybe aren't completely true, or they're changing up information just to catch this person in a lie. I, I can't explain it, but I have seen it many times in my time with the prosecutor that I worked with, where they have literally pursued someone and they're very cryptic when they talk about it to the media because they don't want to open up their case to being thrown out of court on a mistrial for all kinds of reasons. Every one of these people that are giving conspiracy theories are opening up the defense for a great defense. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but you know what I mean? Like, they need to be careful.
yeah, and in this day of social media now and people taking a, I mean, I kind of played a role by posting I don't think there's anything wrong with posting an interview of somebody, but then if you post it, people are like kind of accuse you of you're like putting that person on blast or whatever. It's like they're the one that gave the interview. But again, like you're saying, people are scared to come forward and talk because of the scrutiny. But that original interview with Jeremy, there was like he said some things. He was looking in the window. He just said some things that stuck out. Then I kind of dropped it. I was like, nah, it's not him. But initially, you just wonder, and then you're like, well, what did he see in the windows? Maybe
Yeah,
he,
everyone that I
of what he saw. And I just had a hard time believing the dogs had never crossed paths. But
you're
a
cutting
lot of these
out.
people, I just look at an interview and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. This is interesting. But there's a lot of people online that'll like go on my video and just say, he did it. He's guilty. That's it. So that's got to be hard for somebody who's to deal with, maybe that's not accustomed to like scrutiny, like me throwing myself out on TikTok and being like, I get trolls and hater, like I get it all the time, that I can shake it off. But like a normal person that was just trying to help, that did some interviews, probably was just blindsided by the fact that now, everyone's putting him on blast. So I feel bad for those people, but I don't really think, I don't know. I don't think it's bad to like put an interview, post stuff. I don't think it's wrong to speculate some, but not, it's wrong to like put it out like this is the
I
facts.
see what
Like,
you're saying. Yeah,
yeah,
like
because the
I mean,
are
there's no
not suspicious looking when you saw the video lurking over. But then heard he was in Africa. Then we saw, oh gosh, the kind of hunting he did and the knives and the you could see it. I would be like, a lot of people were just
sort
like, oh, that's it, that's it. They took it as concrete
of fact.
fact, and it was just like, for me, it was more like you never know, could be, knew the, it seemed suspicious. He's had
So
knives. But then that made me think of the type of people in Idaho, in the area, which you could answer more, give more clarity on, that a lot of people have knives like that and do hunting and but
everybody, it's
like
such a big thing. That's why the knife is such a hard thing because around these parts, people carry those kinds of knives and guns so often that it's just part of our culture around here. Like this is the Pacific Northwest. We have mountains, we have the river, we have a lot of hunting community around here, and it just is a small town feel. Um Something you said earlier really spoke to me, and I'm trying to remember what it was. Um but yeah, the police have every right to not give all of their information to the public, to keep the integrity of the case. The speculation on the internet, yeah, to a point, I understand that people are curious, and don't get me wrong, the social media aspect does help to a point, but it gets a little out there
yeah,
when I see other creators, not you, but other creators giving these weird theories,
yeah,
right? And one in particular that I can't mention because I don't want to get banned again. One person in particular has already been sued and is already dealing with that. They actually have now been served lawsuit. Uh, they have been served with the lawsuit because they did not cease and desist in their false and defamatory statements toward an individual. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to go into detail of who that is because they have a lot of people that follow her, and I don't want those people to come at me because the last time I spoke about it, my live got banned for a few days. But what I'm basically getting at is that there's a big difference between like your content, just posting information, and then those people who are just trying to get views and who are way out there in left field. Like there was even someone that came on there and said something like just weird, unrealistic things, especially if you live around here. You're just like,
well, the
no,
4chan stuff, I've recently seen a YouTuber, like, and they'll get so many views on their channel, but it's like, oh, somebody posted a map on 4chan and look, there's a bakery and it matches up to the psychic. I don't know if you know the psychic lady that everybody's quoting.
yes, I do.
I had email
And
put with her. She was going to interview with me, but I texted her. I need to call her. I don't know. I don't think she gave me her real number, but
so about that, let's get into the bench. So here's my thing. Anyone can Google Moscow and anyone can Google like maps and see um the area on Google Streets. So that alone doesn't necessarily mean that this person's actually psychic and saw this in a vision because literally
right.
anyone can see that.
That's what I
And
was thinking about. Oh, it could be where they made bread and now there, but so now there's people on 4chan pretending to be somebody with a map and little markers and showing the little boy that the young teenager that died randomly in the I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah, I did hear about that actually.
Like I recently they're like, "Oh yeah, he was found dead here." The map might be fake, but that account wasn't fake. Neither was the account of the animals. Do you know anything about that?
Yes, and there has been a lot of speculation regarding that. And here's the thing, it is one of the precursors from being a serial killer. But that person, the woman or whoever did that to the dog or whatever animal it was, they have determined that it's not related to
No,
the case.
on the dog, 3 week on October 21st, 3 weeks prior to the was flayed and skinned. A miniature Australian Shepherd.
Yeah, that's kind of creepy, but
3 weeks
again,
away from.
it's there's a lot of layers to this, and there's so many like related incidents that just makes this very layered. I don't even know the right words.
I mean, I don't know if
But
it's speculation. It's just saying that something odd. It was really odd that a dog was skinned 3 weeks prior to four people being. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
And you never know, right? You wouldn't
I
know.
made a little.
I don't know that they're linked per se, but I know that I'll tell you a personal story. When I was in school, like I was 17 years old, I lived in a small town too at that time. And there was this guy who, like, I connected, like, eyes with locked eyes with this guy in the hall, in the cafeteria. And it was just like an eerie, like weird eye lock thing. Didn't think anything of it. Okay. Well, anyway, in the town, there were these people being attacked with hatchets while they were jogging, several cases. Um, and then there was cats that were gut, like a bunch of cats. And so, like, anyway, it ended up being that that was the person who did all these crimes. It was a series of several things happening. So yes, there was animal abuse. There was people attack. An attempted. It was like it's not uncommon to have a combination of those things occur. And it ended up being that guy, and you can look him up, Eric Erickson. I don't know if he's due on parole because he's been in there like 20 years now, but because I my story was kind of choppy. I apologize. It was basically I like ended up knowing the guy. He was in my sister's class, and I was upset because of the red flags. I always get bothered when somebody does something and everybody afterwards is like, yeah, that guy was doing this and saying that weird thing and posting this. It bothers me that people don't say something. And I wrote a paper about that, like how we needed to take things seriously and report things that look, and that was a cry for help because he had been kind of like cutting on himself in class or something like that. After the fact, oh yeah, it was weird that he was doing that in class. It's like, hello, like the guy. I don't know. I just have some passion behind that. Is that people just take these red flags seriously? But I'm not saying dox people and destroy them and accuse them of something they didn't do, and nobody knows if the dog and the people are linked, but I there are really stories that's not fake of dead coyotes ending up on different frat houses lawns years ago. There were That is fact. A lot of
Yeah,
times I will go down these rabbit holes and I'll find like all of it, and then people will be like, that's fake, that's fake. It's like, but there's actually like some truth to it. Do you
I
know about that?
Yeah, so I think what's going to happen is that once this, if I'm hoping when, not if, but when this case gets solved, or they finally have a suspect in custody or a person of interest or whatever, I honestly believe that this is going to cause a huge surge in public comments and social media, and everybody is going to be like, "Oh, I knew from the beginning that it was that
Right.
person." They're going to try to make up all kinds of other things. I just have a feeling that that's going to happen because people are already losing their damn minds and coming up with the weirdest theories, and I just know that once this is figured out, we're going to get more people trying to say that they knew the killer or they knew that this was happening. Where are those people right now? Nobody is speaking about it. Somebody in Moscow or the surrounding communities knows this person. We have to remember that this person actually has friends, probably family, probably maybe a college student. We don't know. But I guarantee you that once their name is put out in the public realm, that people are going to come out of the woodwork to like gain attention from their connection or their um whatever. And yes, it is so interconnected and so small that I believe that whoever did this was exhibiting a very specific behavioral pattern around the people that they know, their family, their friends, and other members of the community. And I really think that they don't want to mention it because they're too scared, or maybe they don't want to believe that their family member, friend, or colleague is capable of this. I don't know, but it begs the question, once they're caught, how many people are going to come out and say, "Oh, I knew that," because a lot of people do that. They say, "Oh, I knew that person. I knew they were weird." Like Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer. Like literally people came out and said that they knew these people, that they knew they were doing this. And some of those people are right, but also some of them are just doing it for the fame. And I really hope that that's not the case with this. And I hope that the families get the justice that they deserve. That did that answer that question? Sort of.
Well, yeah, but I was asking about yeah, I don't necessarily think those things are related either with the animals, but those things got linked to that Jack guy. And was there any word on that he actually went to Africa? Because Steve got Goncalves, can't pronounce it.
Goncalves, the
Yeah,
Goncalves family.
yeah. He there was a report, like a story, right? He did an interview where he's hiring a PI, private investigator, simply because. So, but maybe they didn't go to Africa. However, that was said on the interview in
I
front
don't know about
of
the Africa
that.
thing. It's
Oh,
unconfirmed.
there's a
Nobody officially
there too,
said that.
and now they're out of the country. So people ran with this, and so we were like, who was cleared right so quickly and out of the country? But the family was saying that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, was the family going off rumors?
Maybe, I think so, but also let's think of this in realistic terms. Going to Africa is not cheap. My husband's boss just recently was in Africa for some kind of a, I don't know if it's a safari or what. Um but you can't just go to a country on a whim. I mean, you have to know what you're doing and the flights and the tickets and all that. I know that he comes from means, and apparently his family goes to Africa on the regular. Don't know if that's true. Just something that was in the article or in the Reddit or wherever the heck I read it. It's not likely, though, that he's in Africa, and I think that they only said that to take the spotlight off of him in the Moscow area so that people think he's gone, but I don't think he's left, personally.
Right.
And yeah, I'm not
I
really
didn't know why a reporter interviewing that family would be referencing people being cleared too early and people being out of the country. I mean, I have the interview, like I can dig it up. Like I'm not making like
Oh no, I believe yeah, no, somebody did
that's what
report that.
that when it goes beyond just somebody's making up a story online and then the news,
Runs with it.
I think it's on my TikTok, like because
It's possible, like I said, I know his parent, the person that I think they're talking about, I believe his parents are doctors, and so they do have um means, right?
I don't think he did it at this point. I mean, he's been cleared or whatever. It's just all the like all these like
Little nuances.
that get, and then you're trying to find what's true, and then there's some truth, and we just want answers. Only, I mean, not as much as the family, obviously, or the city of Moscow, obviously, right? It's like, or you living in so close. I'm sure you've seen the whole town just be flipped upside down. And I mean, is it like is everyone just like not trusting anyone anymore? And
Very much so. Like I said, I have friends and family up in Moscow, and I have a lot of ties to. I'm not a few hours away. I don't know who you are,
Iowa,
but literally, I can prove that that's in my backyard. Many people on my page know that I'm a local. I have knowledge of this area that you wouldn't even be able to imagine. So please stop with that. I don't have to prove shit to anybody, but I am a local. Back to what I was saying. Um, his parents are doctors, and this is not speculation. This is all fact. I'm not saying they were involved. I'm saying that some people think that this person's involved, but there's been no confirmation from the Moscow police that this person is out of the country. And it's possible that that interview was staged in order to make it look like he went to Africa so that people wouldn't target him.
just leave him
Possibly.
alone. Yeah, I mean, there's no
Or me.
point. It just he was. I mean, it was suspicious at the food truck, but it's just we let it go at finally because I feel like everyone that gives an interview ends up like, oh my God, they did it. And I just don't feel like my original thought was that this is some kind of drifter person, some psychopath, kind of like not the incel. Okay. I think the incel made a lot of sense. I heard that term recently on this case that there's a lot of people that study uh the
Absolutely.
in involuntary celibate. So it's a type of person who is like angry towards women that okay, we should never victim shame, but if you Kaylee is gorgeous, right?
Absolutely. And thank you for saying that because a lot of people have been calling Kaylee, Maddie, and Zaina mean girls. And
That too,
that's
yeah.
offensive to the people that knew them because I don't, you're young
But she
and
got a figure and she's posting on her Instagram. So I do the same thing. Okay. So I too, right? But that's apparently there's not to be gender biased, but there are some men that are kind of angry towards women that flaunt the
Oh,
goods
absolutely.
and they can't get it, but they feel like I guess they're deserving of it in there's a certain pathology
Mm-hmm.
of a person like that that is able to commit these crimes, probably because they have a, could be diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. There's why
So
are
we're
back on Jack. We're just like we're just kind of clearing up some of the rumors.
yes,
um and
yes,
she's
yes, they are.
hmm,
Sorry. It's just that
thanks, Hannah.
for people are saying that they were mean girls. Trust me, I
I
know,
do comments, yeah, I've
but they
heard
didn't
that.
deserve this.
A theory of that.
Regardless,
There's been a big theory of that rumors about that, yeah,
yeah,
or because that's why they were targeted.
yeah, and also the being in the sorority, like if you go back to their social media and Insta and TikTok, I mean, I don't see anything that would allude to them being mean girls. Like
Yeah,
just yeah, just from meeting and talking to them in a semi-regular fashion, they always seemed very
well,
personable,
yeah, I guess
bubbly.
there's people bouncing in and out, so they didn't watch all of this. But
Yeah.
Elizabeth, Dairy Queen, give her a follow. She's basically Moscow's in her backyard. She did you went to you didn't graduate from University of Idaho, right?
No, but I did take
Performed
workshops
play
there.
there,
Hmm.
theater. Were you in theater?
Yes, I did theater. Yes, and I performed at the Lionel Hampton Music Festival, which is at the U of I. And I have a video of that. You'll see me talk about the building that's at. And
She was
anyone who's
at the press conference and like
yeah,
literally
when
fry
I want to clarify
question.
the
So I'm not talking to somebody that's just a random like speculator, okay? Like I have the receipts. Like it's
yeah, I damn she
got
lives so close.
confused.
She's an
Like
expert.
last
You
time
know what? I don't even care about that. I'm not an expert, but I do have credible
I
background
got
and good
a question.
perspective.
Fry had a lot of views
Um, but about the
at the
press conference, it was open to the general public, and there was a miscommunication on my part. But let me be clear, the term reporter never got thrown around by me. It got thrown around by someone else. And I've never said that I'm a reporter. In fact, reporters don't work for the college newspaper that I was associated with, only journalists. So I don't even know where that came from. But in case anyone wanted to know about the connection to the press conference, it was open to the public and I was allowed to ask a question as a journalist, but they did it at random. So thank you, Eric. Yes. So if you guys want to follow me, please do. I also have a backup account, Navy Doc 28. If you want to follow that as well, just because I have been banned on my main account because of my speaking out against large creators that frankly are distracting and taking away from the case. I'm very passionate about this particular case. Like I said, like what she said, it literally is in my backyard. Anyone that knows the Quad Cities knows that we're one big region. Moscow, Pullman, Lewiston, Clarkston. Like literally that is the region. So, and to whoever thinks that it's a few hours away, I've got news for you. A few hours away from me is like Portland, Boise, Spokane, Coeur d'Alene. Those are a few hours away. Moscow is 15 minutes away.
it
Not
borders
even.
Oregon or Washington.
So we're on the border. So I literally live on the border. So if I were to drive 5 minutes this way, I'll be in Idaho. If I drive 5 minutes that way, I'm in Washington. So literally on the border. And so all of the towns that I'm referencing are on the border. Pullman, Washington is one exit, and then Moscow is the next exit, but they're literally like separated by
So those three state, it's like three states, like
yes, we're at the bottom corner. So if you look at Washington like this,
area.
okay, up here is like Olympia and stuff. We're from way down here in the corner, the bottom west corner of the state on the border of Oregon, Idaho, Washington, Idaho, and Oregon. So we border Oregon and Idaho. You can literally go to Oregon in like 10 minutes. Not even kidding. Like, I could literally drive from where I'm at, maybe a little more than, maybe more like a half an hour. Because you have to go past the Soton up into the, uh, in the Umatilla National Forest or something. But I just know we've been there. And yeah, it's very close and very possible that this person might have already moved on to one of the other communities.
Or lived in another, maybe lived in Moscow before, worked in Moscow, knew of the little area, and just, I don't know. Yeah, to answer your question, nobody really, I guess, thinks the hoodie guy, Jack, is that's a lot of rumors and speculation about him, but she's in been to like what, every press conference. How come they're not having any anymore?
I'm not sure, but it might be related to my debacle. I'm not sure. But they may not feel it's necessary to have any more press conferences until something major happens, like an arrest or further whatever. They try to limit their number of press conferences, but here's the thing. They also could have been holding the press conferences for the suspect. That happens all the time, where the police will hold a press conference just to see if it angers the killer or makes them behave differently. So that could have been one of the reasons why we haven't had a press conference in a bit, but they have been updating the Moscow police website with press releases that you can read and get caught up with where they're at. I will say this. I probably won't attend any more press conferences because I've been harassed, bullied, and threatened for my last appearance. But I will be going live from Moscow as soon as the roads clear, and I'll be showing people more about the region. I plan on like going maybe to Mad Greek again and eating my euro because, well, I want to pay tribute. Uh, Other than that, this case has just really torn apart our community. 100%.
Yeah, it's just a big.
Yeah. I don't even know. Like, I heard someone else mention Mikey. What's that, Heather?
No, I just said it's just, I don't know. It's hard because I mean I don't live. I mean it's obviously a lot different for people that knew the victims like yourself or frequented the. I mean I can't imagine your experience or the town's experience. Just somebody though. There's a lot of us that have been intrigued and followed this case because we were all kind of set up to believe from the beginning, oh, it's targeted. They just acted like it was going to be kind of a slam dunk. And now we're going into like another
A
week,
month.
another week. And I mean, it's been 6 weeks, 40 days or something like that. And it's like they say the first 48 hours is what matters, right? Like, is pivotal when memories are
I
fresh
want
and witnesses and everything. and a lot of them are saying this is a very normal time frame for a murder case. I guess it's just that I feel like if there was a blood droplet, clear cut DNA that they would have gotten, and it was in CODIS, that we would have had a match by now.
Not as well, yes, but let's say there was a match, they still might be building their case. I don't know, because a DNA match is pretty much a, physical evidence that ties that person to the case. But I want to go back to what this person asked about the video with Adam. So he's been ruled out. Or not ruled out. He's cooperating with police. Personally, I don't think he's involved, but again, that's just reading his body language and knowing the people in Moscow. Like, it is not uncommon for people to walk down the streets in their businesses and strike up conversations with people. So it's very possible that they just struck up a conversation, or maybe they knew them. It's a very small area. I don't know. I wasn't there. But I don't know if anyone has caught this yet, but next month, the 13th falls on a Friday. So Friday the 13th is literally next month. And I'm hoping that before then, they have this person in custody. You
No,
know what I mean?
told that, well, the report is that Adam's the bartender. The little video clip is just the one girl saying to the other girl, I told Adam everything. And we don't know what everything is that she told Adam. But Steve, the Kaylee's dad, spoke out and said he had that video since the beginning, and that he wasn't. It didn't seem to lead anywhere, and Adam wasn't really a suspect.
So, to whoever's thinking this case is cold, it's not. You guys must not know how that works. This is still an active investigation. They're still processing data, they're still taking tips, they're still looking into this, and it would not have 60 FBI, two behavioral analysis profilers, and a lot of ISP and Moscow police. They wouldn't have all of those resources if this case was cold. So stop with that crap. Just because it's not solved like on TV in like 24 hours doesn't mean that they haven't made progress. It's not cold. Cold cases come about when they don't have anything further that they can investigate, and they actually delineate it as a cold case. This has not been labeled a cold case, so please stop spreading that. The police have more than enough information at this point to keep this relative and active. And also, you can't even go there and say that this is never going to get solved, because are you aware of all the evidence they have? No, you're not. So nobody can, like, I'm not yelling. I'm passionate about this because this is happening in my backyard. I know these people. I live in this community. And for people to say that this is cold, or um she knows no more than anyone. I don't know how many times I have to say this, but whatever. Bro, you're on. Really?
Yeah, I
What?
really think they're waiting for familiar DNA to hit. Yeah, I know. I mean,
So
I don't know that they got DNA. I mean, it could be a
no,
fiber.
they did get DNA. There is a statement on their website that the cars were taken to a crime lab, and that they literally um hold evidence and possible DNA. But but that's just based on a little tiny paragraph in one of the press releases. So they have something. They haven't spoke about it yet. But the Friday the 13th thing isn't because it's Friday the 13th. It's just the anniversary of when this happened, which is the 13th. And not to sound like superstitious or anything, but Friday the 13th, that's just gonna be creepy. Like to come to have this case not solved at that time. I don't know how to
It's
explain it.
certain serial killers, I guess the Zodiac, and some of them have, and they've never discovered who the Zodiac is to this day.
Oh no, no, they solved the Zodiac case.
Where have I been? What the heck?
Oh wait,
No, it was
I'm
BTK.
pretty sure.
It was
Hold on. I know they solved.
BTK was more recent.
Yes, BTK Dennis Rader.
Was more recent.
Yes, BTK Dennis Rader. There was another case that was really wasn't the
I
Zodiac.
said the Zodiac was not solved. They solved Green River. They
Yeah, they solved the Green River. They solved Ted Bundy. They solved John Gacy. There's another one.
one was real creepy. That over in that Washington, Seattle, right? The guy that was prostitutes.
Yes, that's the Green River Killer.
I always confuse that with the Atlanta child murders. Because that guy was throwing the bodies. I think they caught him by watching him throw the body over.
Yeah, I think it is the first week of school. The
Or
Golden State Killer. Yes, they solved that.
I didn't even remember that one.
But do you guys know about the Long Island serial killer?
Yeah, that one
That
got
shit was
getting
interesting.
solved.
No, I don't think maybe it is. I've
Parts.
watched so many things
I
like
they just there's no this yeah the body parts. There's even like I don't know. Netflix just put out one in Houston. I didn't even realize a whole area where there was a whole bunch of Did my one listen to anyone listen to the Ghost Box video? They mentioned three killers. Oh, I don't know if I believe in those boxes. I I've heard of them being accurate, like spirit box, but it's like a. Have you seen that, Elizabeth? The spirit boxes people are doing.
mm-mm. No, I have not. Wait, a spirit box? What is
It's
that?
just some like electronic device that people will ask questions, and it like
Oh.
gurgly answers. Yeah, and it's like who killed you, and then you can kind of hear answers, and I'm like, is this like in a Ouija board or something? But they're like, I would never be involved in it because apparently it's not the occult. It's supposed to be like God, spirits. I don't know. I was like, what is this? But
Yeah.
the girl who does it, I guess her spirit box readings have been accurate in other cases. So she has some credibility. But there's more than one person now doing this. Like you'll have to look it up, this spirit box thing that they ask the questions and it gurgles out.
So,
Yeah, on YouTube. I don't know. It doesn't do it for me. I think the psychic readings are really interesting too, but it's like it's still like more speculation until I guess that one lady did have help or her readings were accurate or she wrote a book.
I don't know about all that. the only psychics that I've seen on TikTok are not credible, and they're completely off base. But they have a large following and a lot of diehard fans that think they're really true. And no, I mean, I've seen
think
people
that
that have good instincts that have talked about it, but these two particular people, um, one of them is being sued, the other one I'm not so sure about. But I'm so sorry.
someone
It
near the
is my what?
DJ girls knew.
Oh, there is someone that knows the DJ. I don't know.
That's
This,
I don't
oh, these,
remember hearing about a DJ.
yeah, well, it's a name. Someone of a DJ. I don't know if that's
Oh,
initials or if they literally mean it's a DJ. I'm not sure.
oh, the
But
three, the Pull, wasn't it the Pullman?
I don't know.
Pullman. It was,
Um,
or
I hate to cut this.
remember the unsolved stabbing where one person was dead.
Oh, yeah.
Happened
Um,
of the month.
so I don't mean to cut this
I'm
short, but I
tired.
have
We could do this.
something.
We'll plan something.
I have like, yeah, I've got to get going. Got to go to bed, but like, there's like a lot of police outside, and I'm not sure exactly what's going on. But I'm gonna go ahead and go. Um, but yes, we'll do this again, and uh, if you want to follow me, my main account is this one that you see at the bottom. And then, no, they're not at my door, they're just outside. I think this person's like either really mentally ill or on drugs or something because the police have been here like every night since I called 911 because it happened on my live. People could actually hear it. This person was yelling and screaming about killing someone. It was very frightening. Um, so they've been here
Oh,
every day since. But yeah, it's like really late and I've gotta go to bed and I'm really tired. So we will when I'll write up some notes and some more um I'll find some more connections and I can email them to you and then we can collaborate again if you'd like. And then again, this is my main account, and then the backup is the Navy Doc 28 account. So thank you for having me. I really enjoyed talking with you and discussing this. Thank you so much for caring and all of the support from everybody. It's truly humbling that you guys care so much about our region and these four beautiful people that deserve justice. So, from the bottom of my heart, I really thank each and every one of you and you, my dear, for letting this happen and allowing me the opportunity to spread awareness and give you guys a little bit more information from a local's perspective. So, thank you.
yeah, I appreciate it. Have a good night. Well, I'll talk to you soon. Give her a follow. Bye.